well, I set my goal for this and I'm not on track to do it. I guess that means I can't make it in this industry. It's like, that's not true. That is not the defining factor of whether you will endure. What will define it is getting a good, clear vision of what does it mean to be on track to where you want to go, and what are the things that you can do to maintain that, and then do those things.
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Benelli is here with myself, Garrett Fry, and we are excited to spend another session with you here. I had a moment of clarity while I was in an event this weekend, and it came back to staying on track in our life and in our business, and anything from workout routines to diet plans you might have for yourself. And I said, this is what I want to chat about today. And Matt, you seemed like this was something that was going to work.
I like this topic. Actually, when you were talking to me last night about this, because if you guys don't know, Garrett and I, since we live across the country from each other, we don't have the pleasure of like walking into each other's offices and like chatting throughout the day. So we find other times to talk on the phone. And when you were talking to me last night, I didn't mention this to you, but I saw an old Gary Vee clip of him telling a young person who was like, I'm going to shake your hand when I'm a millionaire by 25. And Gary Vee is like, slow down, young buck. He's like, wouldn't it be better if you built a plan that allowed you to endure and, guarantee you're a millionaire by 36, let's say, and enjoy your life versus burning out trying to hit that in your early 20s. And that related to me when you brought up this topic of staying on track and finding your stride and endurance, because that's really the ultimate goal if you want to create longevity.
And I think there's different races that you can go in. And this is where like this started to correlate with me. Let me kind of share a little bit about why this came up. And so a lot of you may know, I race in a series called the 24 Hours of Lemons. It's a big goof off event that actually has serious racing going on at the same time. So you race for, basically about 9 hours, 8 hours a day, and you have a fun evening of hanging out with your friends and goofing around. But the whole thing is over a 2-day time period is how many laps can you get on this racetrack? And it's intense. It is you're pushing these cars to the absolute limits. There are literally pieces of engine that you will find out on the track because engines explode and brakes give out, and these poor cars that were never meant to run at this level for this long.
I think that's a big part of it. Is these are cars that aren't necessarily built for the track, but have been built now for the track.
They have now been built for the track, and there's some out there that are super. We call them cheaty cars that are totally set for racing, and there's some out there that are really should have never seen their life on a racetrack. Like we're giving them a second life and being like, you never thought you're going to be this cool, but let's go out and do this. So what happens is you push these cars to their max, Matt, and then you find this place that things start breaking. And sometimes you can't figure out what it is. Sometimes you got to do a lot of diagnostic. You got to start really breaking things down and figure, okay, this causes that. What's that noise we're hearing? Why is it doing this? Why is it when I jam the brakes on it pulls hard to the right? That started 2 laps ago. Like what in the world's going on? And what happens is you leave the track. So you start in the morning on the track, you put down laps, and at some point you're going to leave the track. You're either leaving the track to refuel and to, check oil and check everything to make sure that this car is going to last for 2 days. Or sometimes you are leaving the track because something broke, something's off, something's wrong, something derailed in here somewhere, and we got to fix it. We need to leave the race, sit down for a second and analyze this car. And this last weekend, we did lots of fixing and analyzing of a vehicle. There was lots of moments where we're like, what in the world is going on? And then all of a sudden you'd find the fan belt that runs the alternator and the water pump is not connected. And you're like, well, there's your overheating problem. Like, we'll work on that right now. Let's get that fixed. There's a saying that we always are saying, though, to each other is, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track. And it's something that just kind of keeps coming up. And you'll hear other teams say, you got to get back on track, get back on track, get back on the track, guys. And I was started to go like, is that a coincidence? Wait, hold on a second. Like, Is this just something I've never correlated in my life when people say I got to get back on track? I doubt anybody's talking about racing because that's only where I correlate things with racing. But it was one of those that I was sitting there going, part of an endurance race, which I think our life, our business, the things that we are, a lot of us are all here listening to this podcast, the people that we work with inside the 11 Circle, Matt, and inside our community that we've built, a lot of them are in an endurance race. They're not here as a quick race. They're not here as a, how fast can we get to the checkered flag on an hour race that we're out on the track. They're here for the long haul. And sometimes we lose sight that there's times we need to pull off and we need to repair and we need to fix so that we can go out there and be the best on track and go out and put laps down and to show up consistently. Because at the end of the day, at the end of that race, Matt, the ones that are at the podium, the ones that are all celebrating at the very end, they did the best job of making sure they had limited time broken down, limited time off that track, and most of the time out there putting on laps. And it just correlated with me really well with a lot of people that we help and we coach.
I like the analogy because in many sports, I mean, even in team sports, time of possession, whoever can hold the ball the longest typically has the best chance at winning the game. And you hear this often in business as let me get back to basics. I need to get back to my basics. I need to do the fundamentals. That's really the same thing as I need to be on track. I need to get back on track. And this quarter in particular, a lot of times people go into, and I know we're kind of deep into October right now when this goes live, but when we're recording this, a lot of people are getting hit with we're going to do the fourth quarter sprint. We're going to do this. Come on, let's blow up the fourth quarter and all this stuff. And the difference is, I love the sports analogies, but the race ends, right? The game stops. There is a winner that is identified. Your business doesn't end at the end of this year. Like there's no podium. I mean, yeah, there's the awards and things that people do, but there's no podium and you're like, awesome, great, take some time off and then go train for the next one. It's like, no, business keeps going. And this is where if you can focus on what do I need to do to be on track right now? Where are the basics in my world? Do I have them calibrated in? And this is the thing. It's not a lot of things. Staying on track, for example, with the car, it's like, oh, let's just make sure we connect this water pump, get out there. We can address the brake issue on the next pit stop or whatever. Well, brakes might be an important thing to address, but it's not how do we take this thing apart right now and put it back together so it's perfect. It's how do we make sure that we are still running and we can analyze as we go, because also as you drive, you get feedback on what's working and what's not. It's like when people try to revamp their entire marketing and they say, hey, I'm going to do all of these brand new things. I'm like, awesome. After 90 days, tell me what's working. And they're like, I don't know what's working. It's like, yeah, because you did everything at the same time versus layering in things to see, hey, is this making a difference in my business or is this making a difference in my business? And if you're on track and you're doing your fundamentals, you're going to be able to better analyze as you go so that you can build this longevity machine that has the endurance to go for however long this race is going to go. Because Garrett, I would imagine that many people listening don't even really know how long their race is going to go. And
no, I don't think they pay attention to that at all. We get into a pattern of just showing up every day. We show up, we wake up, we do the job, and we basically, we're not really analyzing a whole lot. We're not analyzing what's working, what's not working. We're just kind of showing up every day. And I think a lot of times we have successes and we don't realize we have successes, why we had successes. We don't realize what got us to that place. And we also have breakdowns and we don't realize what caused the breakdown, what caused us to be off track and sitting in the pits going, what in the world happened? And I am talking about business still here, but it's one of those, like, we find ourselves broken, either mentally burnt out. We have money that we've been spending on stuff in our business that hasn't been producing, but we've been doing it because our neighbor does it and because the office told us we should probably do it. And we're just pumping out cash and we're like, man, my account's getting lower and lower and lower. And what is wrong here? And what is going on? And we haven't stopped to really analyze. We just do a lot of stuff. And correlating this back to the race is that you can watch this in race teams. It's really interesting. The ones that really aren't paying attention and they're just out there just going, just push it, push it, push it, push it, push it. And they blow up. They will blow up. It is one of those things. It's like, we could pull the car off and make some quick fixes, or we can blow this thing up and you're out of the race completely, which we watch people, Matt, leave the business, go start something else. They push this thing to the max, to the point that it's like, I'm not having fun anymore. Like, I'm not enjoying this and I'm going home. We watch this at the racetrack all the time. So again, 2-day race, and middle of day one, you're watching a team roll their car up onto the trailer and you're going like, you guys are out? And they're like, yeah, but this and this and this happened, and we're just going to head home. It's not worth it. And you'll watch the other teams that hopefully can catch things before they turn into major problems, and they can make these small adjustments and make these little things, and you can be there for the whole race. We were out there almost to the very end of this race. We got down to about the last hour of it, and we're like, we can go out there and blow the car up, or we can make our way back home and race another day, and still have fun with this and not kill each other. Because that's the other thing, Matt, is that, and I was hoping we could talk about this today, is how do you handle it when you are off track? And this is also, if you want to have some fun someday, come to one of my races. Just go to a Lemons race. It's a great way to go, because you could walk around the pits. You can watch how teams work with one another. And it's interesting, when somebody's off track, you can watch a team either work as a team, try to figure it out. How are we going to fix this? How are we going to get back out? Or you can watch them start to implode. And my neighbor who was next to us, we got to watch him implode. We got to watch his entire team implode, because all of a sudden they couldn't figure out a problem. They knew they were not going to be winning the race now, and because they weren't winning the race, they were just in give up mode. And I literally watched grown men throw tires out of a trailer trying to make room for their race car. And where are the tie down straps? And they're screaming at each other. And we're in our pits going, okay, we are watching the breakdown of a team right now. Like, they were mad over how one of them was emptying the cooler water out. And the other guy's going, you're not doing it right. And it's like, I'm doing it the best I can, man. You stay doing what you're doing. I'm like,
dump the cooler.
Yeah, it's like, dude, just empty the water out. But they had gone to a point that they were off track. They were out of the race. And fundamentally, things were starting to break down. And we watched this in teams, real estate wise, or in businesses, Matt, that when the business gets off track, when it's not going the right way, teams can either rise together and they will raise everybody up, everybody from the person that's at the front desk to the people that are signing the checks. They can all work together and build up, or they can start fighting against each other. And these are these businesses that when they get off track like this, they just run themselves into the dirt. They got nowhere to go because everything's falling apart. And it's an interesting time if you're paying attention to it. And that's what I'm trying to say here is, if you're paying attention to this, you're keeping track of all this, you can make slight adjustments, not these major ones in times of distress. You get to fix them along the way.
And this applies to just the overall business and also within each deal too. Because even talking about the teams, like you and your client are a team, you and your lender and your client, you and your lender and your home inspector and your client. Like, there's a team dynamic there. And I've seen it where agents and clients will get into this energy of division and they kind of blow up each other's spot. Right. And anytime you want to be on track, I think it starts with one, acknowledging, like, let's define what that means. What does it mean to be on track first? Right. And that doesn't mean the goal setting and all that stuff. That's important. And we need to do that. And we're going to actually be doing that inside the 11 Circle coming up next month. We're going to be going through a whole GPS framework. It's going to be absolutely incredible. But defining what is the track? What does it look like to make sure that we're on track? Then we can analyze, are we going fast? Are we going slow? Do we need to adjust our position? Do we need to refuel? But what does it mean to be on track, right? And for a lot of, if you're in a transaction, that's doing the things that move that listing or move that buyer forward, right? For your business, it means, are you doing the things? Does your calendar look the way that it's supposed to? Do the relationships look the way that it's supposed to be on track? And then that way, when you're off track, and you can then apply. I think there's two things, right, Garrett? There's environmental. Did we get off track because of some type of internal mental environment or external environment? There was some crazy thing that might have happened that kind of threw us off track. And then assess your level of responsibility. Are you willing to take responsibility for that? For the team that was next to you, no, but it sounds like really what's going on there is something happened and nobody wanted to take responsibility. And so that created this energy of implosion that was going on, including how you empty out a
I wish I had a
cooler.
video of it. One of the teammates going, "You don't need to throw the tires down. I will come help you." And as he's saying that, another tire is flying out of this trailer. I was like, this is spectacular over here.
That's the hard, but I think that's the hardest element of it, is deciding to take responsibility for being off track, because it's the only way you can get back on track. It doesn't matter how you got there, but the minute you decide to take responsibility for your position in your business, in a transaction, in a race, then all of a sudden you can come up with the ways to get back on track.
And I think it's funny, we bring this back to, in my mind right now, which is all this comes back to really good communication with your team or anybody you're working with, whether this is with your gym trainer of what your goals are and what you're trying to do, whether this is with your spouse and your kids, or whether this is with your business partner, of having real clear communication while you're in this race together, while you're doing this event together, you're in this endurance race. I think it's you watch these teams like at this racetrack start to break down. We had a very clear goal going into this weekend. There are weekends that we've gone into where like our goal is to win this race. We are coming into this with the mindset of, guys, here's our plan. Here's how we're going to do pit stops. They're going to be fast. You need to have all your gear on. This race was totally different. This was, we're going to go race. But the whole point of this is that we have no idea how long this car is going to stay on the track. The actual race for us, we defined early on, and it was to leave this weekend with a car that we had confidence in and that we could understand what was going on with it, which didn't mean winning the race, because that meant that we would go out on the track and we would spend 2 or 3 laps and we would come back and talk about what was going on with the car. It's doing this, it's doing that, it's doing this. We should fix this. Let's adjust this. Okay, let's go back out. Sometimes the car forced us to come back in, and sometimes we'd come back in because I was like, you know what? I came out of the corner back there and it cut out on power. Why? Why did it do that? Like, what made it do that? And we would sit down and we would pull out the Google and we would start going through all the things that would make a BMW 528e cut out power after running, hard for about 30 minutes. And it's amazing. The Google's incredible, has all kinds of answers.
The internet's so wonderful.
But we would stop and we would analyze. And I think, you got to define the race that you're in, because as Matt, as you were saying, there is the race where it's like, okay, we race, podium, checkered flag, winners, everybody goes home. And, in our race that we're looking at, like I'm looking 20 races down the road. This is a long-term, this is this racing team that we have and these friends that we have and this hobby that we have isn't just this race. And we want that car to last to the next race and the next race and the next race. We want to show up and do this again and continue this with longevity going forward. And I think part of that is you got to know where you're going. You got to know what you're creating. There's a lot of teams that come out for one race. We're going to come out, we're going to race one time. We're going to push this car as hard as we can. And hey, you know what? At the end of it, we're going to be able to tell all of our friends and everybody, yeah, we showed up and we raced and it was fun. But you got to know what the race is, and you got to be able to communicate to the people around you about what it is that you're doing. Because if you can't communicate that, and Matt, this is where I think you tying it back into your listings that you have, the buyers that you're working with, the lenders that you're working with, like it's really good for everybody to know what the race is, what we're trying to accomplish. And there's a lot of realtors out there that look at their race as, my race is from the minute I get that client to the minute I get to the closing table and podium, win, I'm out. Like that is a race for a lot of realtors in their business. There are a lot of little individual races. And the most successful realtors I know look at the way that I look at our racing series. And it's like, you know what? This is one race in a whole bunch in the bigger picture of what this race is. These are little events that happen in this big picture of this race that we're doing. And we're going to learn a lot along the way. And there's going to be some transactions that, that are going to go smoothly. And we're going to, take that away. And there's going to be some that are going to blow up. And we're going to learn a lot out of that. And hopefully we can save the ones so they don't blow up. But it's a long-term race. And I like Gary Vee's thing of, I'm going to be a millionaire by the age of 25. But what was it? Was it a millionaire?
Yeah, it was this it was a kid on his this is back when he was doing Ask Gary V, and I guess they said I don't know how old the kid was when they called in, but essentially Gary's like, why burn yourself out? Now, not saying that it's not possible to hit really big marks very quickly. It might be possible to just enter a race and win it your first time out. But if that is the plan, then you are also setting yourself up in this rigid sense of like, well, if it doesn't go right, do you have the fortitude to endure beyond that? And what happens a lot of times is you see this when agents take listings and all of a sudden the listing gets challenging and they're like, oh, I can't handle this. Like, I'm just gonna quit. It's like, whoa, no, let's not do that. And a great example of this actually is Pam Briggs. She's in Southern California with Coldwell Banker, and she just closed on this listing that was it was epic. This thing had been on the market for years, prior agents, and she came in and sold it like multiple times over, but never got the deal done. Not because of something she was doing wrong,
Oh,
but the
that's
sellers
so hard. Kept going under contract and coming out.
and or getting offers that were like at these certain points, and the sellers deciding they don't want that, and but she kept this level head, came up with alternatives. I mean, there was restaging, there was things that the sellers did, and she gained the trust and confidence of these sellers over this because she didn't. I mean, I'm sure internally there were times like, I know I certainly would have had those things, but she showed up as a professional and was like, okay, we're not on track for where we thought we would be because we had this amazing offer and we didn't take it. And okay, well, let's figure out how we're going to move forward instead of just dropping everything and being like, I'm done. She stuck with it, advised the sellers and guided them. And then they got a deal. Like the 15th time a buyer came, and I'm exaggerating probably on that one. And the
By the
deal
way,
closed.
it feels so good too when you've been able to stick with it, when you've been able to get your clients also to stick with it. Like we again, and that only happens with good communication, because otherwise in there, somebody's going to get pissed. Somebody's going to lose their temper and they're going to be like, look, what are you doing for marketing? Like, I don't like, I don't like what's coming in here. I don't like how you're handling this. But when you have really good communication, you're both showing up at the best you possibly can and you're working together and you have a common outcome or goal that you're trying to get to, those wins, Matt, oh, they feel so good. Those are the best.
Well, and it's, it comes down to having a vision of what does it mean to be on track. And when we're off track, having even just the mental ability to manage that, because there are going to be times where your business goes off track or transactions go off track that you didn't predict and you may not have a solution for. But if you believe that you can manage it and handle it and get back on track, and yes, sometimes you're going to encounter people you're like, this is not somebody I want to have in my world and I'm done. Cool. Awesome. You're going to figure that out. But like, if you're in it, like, let's work on getting through that, because if you want to build a business that endures, you can't be having these major emotional moments that pull you out of the ability to creatively think. And endurance really is about that, because you're going to encounter things that like you didn't expect, and you're going to have to be able to think creatively versus, saying, oh, well, this didn't work, so I guess we're out. I guess I failed. I guess I can't make it. And people going into the fourth quarter, there are people out there who are thinking, well, I set my goal for this and I'm not on track to do it. I guess that means I can't make it in this industry. It's like, that's not true. That is not the defining factor of whether you will endure. What will define it is getting a good, clear vision of what does it mean to be on track to where you want to go, and what are the things that you can do to maintain that, and then do those things. Not, oh, the numbers aren't matching up the way that I wanted them to be.
Well, so I think like, Matt, when we look at endurance, I mean, I look at like 75 hard. You've done 75 hard many, many, many times. I feel like I can say many, many, many times. There might be more manys. You've done it a lot.
I don't know.
It's been a lot. And that's an endurance type of thing that I look at. I think anything that you want to look at and say, okay, what is something that is a long-term commitment that I'm going to come across roadblocks. I'm going to come across things that I need to get creative about. And I think it's a good moment to take this idea of when I find myself off track, how do I handle it? And, in your 75 hard, it's, if you get too far off track, the race is over. In 75 hard, you're starting over. But at the
Yeah,
same
I mean,
point,
yeah.
at the same point, you can be off track during a day and sit there and say, I didn't get my workout in the morning. I haven't read my book yet. I'm behind on my water. Do I throw in the towel and just be like, there's no way this is going to work? Or do I want to sit down and say, look, I know I'm off track right now. How am I going to fix this right now, today? Can I fix this? Can I get a 45-minute workout in right now before I go to bed? Can I make sure I start drinking water right now? And man, am I probably going to pee all night long? Yes. But can I do that? Can I sit down and read and, right after my workout? Can I do my workout and take a break and read, for 15 minutes or
10 pages.
10 pages? So it's like, there are these elements that's like, you can easily find yourself in a place like the team throwing the tires out of the trailer where you're just like, I give up. I'm off track enough that I'm not either can't see a solution or I'm not willing to sit down and create a solution and figure out how I'm going to do this. And for the most part, I think most of our issues are solvable. And that's what I've learned from being on the racetrack is there's many, many, many times I've come off the track, did it this weekend many times before, that my brain is saying, this could be a race ending moment that we're in right now. And it's cool when you get back and you sit down with a couple of your teammates and you start to brainstorm on how we're going to fix this. And all of a sudden somebody goes, I got an idea. And you go, what is it? And you hammer it out. And all of a sudden everybody's celebrating when that car is going back out on track. And I think we run into this in our business all the time. And that's what I wanted people to get out of this, Matt. I wanted people to get out of this is that one is acknowledge the race that you're in, but also acknowledges that you're going to be off track sometimes. We can't always be on track. We can't always be throttle down, hammered going. Like we've got to pull off every once in a while, and we either need to assess damages or we need to put gas in the car and we need to get back out there. And it's a normal journey for everybody.
And I'll add this in too. Sometimes it is okay to start anew tomorrow, right? It's a matter of how you approach it. The team that was out of the race that was next to you, if hopefully they cooled off and was like, well, what can we learn? So next time we come out, we can do better, right? Is 75 hard an example? Some days, I mean, phase 3 was something I really wanted to do. I got sick and made the decision of like, you know what, this isn't the time for me to do this. It's not the time for me to push through it. The risk and the reward aren't there for me. And so I'm just going to take some time for myself and get healthy and then, come at this again another year. And that's totally okay. Because if you have the clarity of the long term, what's the long term being on track really mean? Then you can understand in the moment of, okay, this moment I need to be off track so that I can get back on. Because sometimes you're trying so hard to pull back on that you can blow up the car. And that's not going to be a really good thing at the end of the day, because now it's going to be a longer time spent off track versus just, hey, let's do some simple repairs and things and come back tomorrow.
Well, and that's so, just to wrap this up quickly, there's another gentleman that was leaving the track early. And the more I stopped to talk to him, because it's a very tight knit kind of fun family that all does this. And we were chatting about it and he blew the motor up. It was like an 87 Corvette. Amazing that he had it out there on the track. Corvettes are horrible track cars. I know there's people that are going to argue with me out there. Not the newer Corvettes, older Corvettes, horrible track cars. And but he blew the motor up. He's like, it is gone. It is gone. There's no recovery from it. It is a new motor is what I need to put into it. And the fun thing is that he was leaving that event with a big smile on his face. He's like, you know what? I got this car. I haven't done too much to it. It was the first time coming out here. This whole thing was to see what I could do with it. And it wasn't about for him winning that race. He's another one that I'm going to see him I will see that car probably for the next 10 years, over and over and over again. He's going to come back with a new motor in it. We're going to try again. We'll go back out there. We're all going to have fun together. And you know what? It might work that time. It might not work. He might blow it up again. But it's how you handle the breakdowns. You can have them as catastrophic, which sometimes will make you, I never want to come back and never do this again. And there are people that are like, you know what? That's the way that one went. And let's go do it again. We'll be back out next race. And that's literally how people sometimes leave. They're like, are you going to be at this race? Are you going to be at this one? Hey, well, I see you there. And this is that long-term strategy for these people. And I think for everybody in this business of real estate, starting your own businesses on a new health journey that you're on right now, take a step back and get the big long-term picture for yourself and realize this is an endurance race that you're in right now. This isn't a quick fix, big win. I mean, they happen. They're great. We'll take them when they happen. But for the most part, your health is one of the best. We haven't done one and related to health in a while, Matt, but I love health because there are very few ways to have long-term success with like quick weight loss programs or, quick ways to get your cholesterol down or things like that. It's like, it's a quick fix that doesn't do anything long-term for most people. And it's a long-term strategy and a plan that gets yourself into peak physical performance and really healthy. And that's how you got to look at this. That's how you got to kind of take this into your world. So that's why I wanted to go. So Matt, thanks for kicking this around today, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing it in. The health episode will be coming, I'm sure, for sure. We'll be talking about that. And a 75 hard challenge may be coming as well for our community coming up, which guys, if you want to join our membership for Life at 10 Tenths, you can go to our website, lifeat10tenths.com. And you can also there learn about our coaching program, which is called the 11 Circle, where every Wednesday we get together and we have live coaching. We hop on Zoom together and we get to go through some Q&A. We got to go through maybe a framework or something that Garrett and I want to really kind of dive into, a topic that is important for that time of whatever's going on in people's businesses. And we also bring in guests to run what we call success labs, where they will bring in their expertise and lead a workshop. We just recently had Eric Simon, the broke agent, in leading an incredible workshop on social media and marketing. It was really awesome. And we save all that stuff in there. So the cool part is when you're in the coaching program, you get access to all of those recordings and you get access to us as well. So check that out. Oops, as I spill my coffee all over my desk at lifeat10tenths.com. So
as Matt's going to clean that up, Matt, you're welcome to go clean that up. I'll wrap this up real quick, is that, one of the cool events that we're actually going to be doing here coming up on the 11th of October, which has already happened by the time that you're listening to this, is that we're going to do a 12-hour walk where we do events with all of our people in here. And this is a virtual event. It comes out of the book, The 12-Hour Walk. And these are the things that I'm really loving about our community, Matt, loving about the coaching program and the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, is watching how all in people are with this 12-hour walk and the excitement around it. As I talk to a handful of people that are all in and ready to do it, this is where the powerful stuff comes from. I can't wait to do the walk with these guys, and I can't wait to do a wrap up on it. Matt needs to clean up coffee. We're going to let him go.
Same here. Yeah, I'm going to have to. Luckily, there was a lot of papers here that absorbed it.
Oh, good. That's perfect.
I don't know if I need these papers or not. I'm going to find out. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We love you guys so much. If you could please share this episode if you found value out of it. If you find value out of the podcast, share it with people who you think would enjoy it. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe. And we appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, everybody.